Hello there and welcome to the Three Man Weave College Basketball Podcast. The boys are back for our final podcast in May 2024. How exciting. Yes, Kai, Jim, and Matt. I am Kai. I am the one speaking. I am the host today of our lovely podcast, which will cover the Big 12. We've been doing our State of the Program series over the last few weeks. We are now in the Big 12. Hooray, hurrah, Mizzou, Mizzou. We used to be in the Big 12, we're now SEC, folks. Also, Jim, we're doing some draft deadline talk. Yes, the draft deadline finally passed. The people who want to be back in college are back. Those that want to stay in the NBA draft are staying. Before we get into all of that, hello, Jim. How are you?
Hello, Kai. I am terrific. I'm all excited for this weekend. We'll get to it in personal corner as to why. I won't give that away to the people, but got an exciting one coming up. Happy to be talking Big 12 with you fellas. The final actual 12 team version. I guess it was 14 this last year. They haven't had 12 in a decade, but getting even bigger next year, inviting more people to the party with the Arizona schools in Colorado and Utah rejoining the Big 12. But yeah, the draft decisions too. Also a little bit exciting. Couple teams, big winners there. I think college basketball as a whole, big winner. We'll talk about why. Matthias, it's going to be a grand old episode for the Weave.
Huge, Jim. Almost as big as this conference. I'm not sure which conference is going to be harder for me to finally crystallize what the actual teams are, this or the Big Ten. I don't know, Kai, I can't quite look at the West Coasters here and give them their fair due. I'm sorry, West Coasters. I will come around. I'm old and stubborn and rigid and hard to adapt at this age. So I will learn. But yeah, it's a new day and a new dawn in the Big Bad 12, and it's getting bigger and badder every year.
Yeah, the conference realignment sucks, but thankfully today we are not talking about that. We were talking about the 14 teams that were in the league last year, assessing the state of the program. That will come after we talk some NBA draft decisions. That will come after we talk some Roots Roundup, little news and notes, get you caught up what's going on during the offseason here. Follow us on Twitter, if you would. 3MW_CBB is where you can find us. Instagram, that applies as well. We don't post much on Instagram. It's mainly a Twitter operation here. But you can help us out by subscribing to the YouTube channel. We go live every week for this podcast. We will continue to do a certain amount of shows during the season for betting perspective. We'll get more into that as the season comes around. And also, please do subscribe to the Discord known as Burner Ball, aka Trilly Donovan's Discord. We have partnered with him. We are now partners with Mr. Trilly, and we are going to bring our previews, our betting analysis, our presence to this Discord. It's only $6 a month. The link is in the description to the video of this YouTube video, also pinned to our Twitter profile. So do please check it out. I think it's going to be one of the best, if not the best, college basketball communities out there.
Yeah, Kai, we had some fun discussions recently, talked Wake Forest in detail with Hunter Salas coming back.
A lot of Wake talk. A lot of Wake talk in the burner.
Had a question about Porter Moser's potential longevity at Oklahoma, went back and forth on that, what kind of jobs we thought he would take. A couple other fits. We're talking UNC's defense, considering the reports that they're done in the portal and don't want another big man now that they got Lubin. All kinds of stuff. There are very smart people in there besides us, so it's really high-level discussion. You get a rogue agent every once in a while who makes your mom jokes because he has no intelligence, but it's a very fun community to be a part of.
I enjoy those.
There's something for everybody, not just in our channels, but in the specific team channels. So get in there and talk about your team. There's a lot of people that want to join you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wake Forest fans, mom fans, Kai, fans alike. There's a middle Venn diagram there between Wake and Mothers, and also Hubert Davis got caught some strays today from a few of the members. Although there's some two-way chatter. All that has to say, it's always flowing. So yeah, check it out. Let's go.
I don't mind the trolls in Discord. They're literally paying us. So I'm cool. You can
call me a big fat loser.
Yeah.
And I will engage with you in a highbrow response. Well, thank you for your thoughts, sir.
Before Roots Roundup, a little personal corner here. First of all, Jim was on the Titus Show once again today. That aired. So hooray, getting the rounds out.
I'm one away from my robe, Kai, my 5 Timers Club robe.
Have you been on there 4 times? 4 times?
4 times.
Wow,
yeah.
okay.
How about that?
Yeah, look at you, mister.
Yeah.
And then you're heading to Mr. J. Pitty's wedding this weekend.
Yeah, wow. The composer of our opening tunes. I talked about our or my good times in the Tetons for his bachelor party a few weeks back, maybe a little over a month. Now I headed to Madison, capital of Wisconsin, and of course, home of the Badgers, the Kohl Center, where I won a state title, Kai. So there's something near and dear to my heart there. Very pumped to be back. There should be a great weekend.
Perfect. Sounds good. Let's get into the show, starting off with some Roots Roundup, aka some news and notes.
Let's do it, fellas. Talking news and notes. Roots Roundup here continues to be unsponsored. I sent a Venmo request to Coleman Hawkins today. He did not answer it. He posted his Venmo for those that are not aware of this. Now that he's out of the draft, posted his Venmo basically like, pay me to come to your school. Ha ha ha. Shameless Coleman Hawkins being a goofball. Yes, and I decided to request $5. I marked it important. He did not pay, so this is not sponsored by Coleman Hawkins.
Shoot your shot, Jim.
I did. I shot my shot, and apparently I'm not on his radar. That's too bad. Key headlines, guys. This one, I breathed a pretty huge sigh of relief too. A couple days ago, the Chris Ledlum and Jordan Dingle initial lawsuit to get an extra year of eligibility restored because of the Ivy canceling the 2020-21 season. They were trying to get that year back and go through the courts to get that, which would have opened the door for potential unlimited eligibility. And just like, does the NCAA have any authority to stop guys from playing college? This was denied an extra year injunction by a judge, just kind of stopped it in its tracks early. Very happy to see this, Kai, because I've said it before. I'll say it again. I think a permanent or an infinite eligibility rule would probably ruin my interest in the sport. I just don't think I would care.
It's ridiculous. How's that even a thing? It's dumb. Yeah, I don't get this from Dingle's perspective. He played 4 full years, literally at least 25 games for 4 years. That's a college career, man. That's all you get. I don't. Ledlum at least played 10 games one of these seasons, and I understand why he's petitioning for a 5th year, but this makes no sense to me. Again, go get a job. Go to Europe. Go play basketball in Europe if you want to play basketball. Go get paid. I don't understand why this is such a big, especially these guys in the Ivy League, or I guess they were in St. John's last year.
I think that's why that was why, right? Because they thought they were entitled to the extra bonus year.
They played 4 years.
But they still did their service, and I think they tried to sort of describe. Yeah, go ahead, Jim. Go.
There's such the NCAA, I guess, didn't do a good enough job of clarifying it, but no one was given a 5th year. No player was given a 5th year of eligibility. They were given a free year in 2020-21. That was a year where your eligibility didn't count. So no one that played there got an extra year. That year just didn't count. There is importance in that syntax, in that wording. So if you didn't play that year, you still only get 4. The guys that did play that year get 4 outside of it. That was just an incentive to not sit out, given the amount of likely cancellations with COVID looming over the sport. So that will come up as we talk N'Faly Dante in a little bit too. But that clarification has seemingly confuzzled people for years now. All right, the other bit of news here, guys. Stephen F. Austin, they're leaving the WAC already, shockingly. Back to the Southland, Matthias, a league that I drafted pretty early in our preview conference draft, partially because McNeese is going to rule and Will Wade has gotten them on a higher pedestal. But the whole league, there's 5 or 6 teams that look like a viable number 2, and in a normal season would be a really good Southland title contender. It's just McNeese has kind of broken the mold in that league, but it's kind of ascending in the way Stephen F. Austin has been in basketball. Another great threat to that league, with Kyle Keller now being the longest tenured Southland coach.
I love the league. It makes sense for basketball. It makes sense for football. It's geographically concentrated, right? All the stupid conference things that used to matter that we like. It's good to see the lowish, midish majors fighting back, and I mean, at least forming competent conferences that make some sense. And I think there's also, SFA going back to the Southland. I feel like a Southland type team. The league has an identity, right? I know it's changed, but it still has kind of that helter-skelter-ish, who the hell knows what's going to happen on a given night type of thing. I love this league. It's quickly becoming a fun mid-major again after being kind of tossed to the bottom 3 cellar dregs for the last few years, Kai.
This is a football move, I'm pretty sure. The WAC and the ASUN formed a coalition in football, FCS, aka the
Temporary.
UAC.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was very stable. I think that's probably part of the reason they want to go back to the Southland. That's what I'm guessing is the
It
reason for
sucks for
this.
the WAC because it was such a good basketball league, right?
Yes, it
But
was.
geographically, it was a disaster.
Yeah.
And football wise, it was always basically on straws and needles, if that's a thing. So yeah, it's just tough. That's yeah, football matters.
Yeah.
Missouri
I
State, same thing.
I don't
Football.
believe that football's driving this. Kai, get out of here. That's crazy talk, man. You're
Yeah.
outlandish statements here. Southlandish statements. How about this? Shout out to Southlandish
Damn,
on
Oh, that's
pain
Twitter.
my
our own
cousin.
heads.
That's my cousin.
Stupid
Crazy
sport.
talk.
Yeah. One of the most well-informed like mid-major and loyal like brands, Southlandish to the Southland Conference. So shout out to them. Give them a hat tip there. Recruiting news, kind of a weird day for the state of Arizona with the draft deadline. Caleb Love returning to Arizona seemed to start a domino effect down through the rosters, starting with top 25 recruit Jozan Sanin was headed to Arizona, flipped to Bobby Hurley and the Sun Devils on the same day. Clearly saw the writing on the wall in terms of playing time. He's headed to ASU. Another top 50-ish recruit for Arizona, I believe his name is Phillips. He decommitted. Arizona State had a guy decommit because Sandin came there. And it's just this whole cascading effect of old Caleb Love returning for another year. We'll discuss him again shortly, given his return from the draft deadline. Matthew, also some highly regarded international players committing. We don't often bring these up, but it is late in the process, and these guys could be key contributors. Russian combo guard Igor Demin headed to BYU. Kai, you seem intrigued by Mr. Demin's film.
Yeah, I was watching a little bit on Twitter. The guy can play. We talk about don't overhype the international guys, but it'll be hard for me not to. He's a guard. He's a 6'9" guard, and he's really, really, really fluid. I will be in his corner a bit.
I mean, I liked the UCLA guys film last year too. I was Keon Vide is going to be a player,
I
and
think forwards and guards
didn't
might
get
be a
off
little.
the
I think
bench.
guards translate a little better. I'll say that a little better.
maybe.
I wish he was a more
kind of big
traditional guard,
too,
though.
but
And I wish he was more like a traditional guard. Like it just made more sense. Like the awkwardness of adjusting to US, I don't know, might be more seamless, but
Yeah, not an all conference guy, but solid. Yeah.
a contributor. Illinois also benefiting from this. Obviously, they've already got Zvonimir Ivasic's brother Tomislav, also Lithuanian shooting guard Kasparis Jakusionis headed to Illinois. I love Lithuanian names, just fun to say. But yeah, Matt, this is another one. You said
Yeah,
you
I
were
like this
kind of
guy's
intrigued
tape.
by what you saw. Yeah.
Are we backing on foreign guys this year, guys? Is the Weave International pipeline is going to be rekindled after poo-pooing them last season? Now we're going to buy low, buy the dip. Yeah, I watched. I mean, probably 5 minutes of the Illinois dudes. I think they're both really good, which is good because Illinois kind of needs them to be good. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe our entire theory last year will be debunked in a few one-off cases, and we'll be able to beat our chest and say, "Haha, I told you so."
I will remain poo-pooing it, though. There is some groundswell that we're going to see better international players come over because of NIL. It's like, oh, I can get paid over there too. That's an advantage, and sometimes get paid better than they're getting paid in the pro leagues in Europe. So maybe we will see better pro prospects that are more ready to contribute. And hey, last year the reclass point guard thing kind of got shattered a little bit with Elliot Cadeau being so good at North Carolina, although he got benched in the Sweet 16 game. Don't forget that. So maybe not completely shattered there.
Another thing too, I think I saw, was it Swing Dog? Yeah, I think Kevin Sweeney mentioned this. The limitations of international guys getting paid is becoming easier to circumvent. And I think as more people understand the rules and the loopholes in terms of what they can and cannot do, you'll get more and more of like this influx, I think. It just makes more, the momentum feels very obvious that that'll continue.
Yeah, I remember like back when Kentucky was trying to get Oscar Tshiebwe paid, and they like did their Bahamas trip, and they're like, all right, he has to do like 3 things now and just pay him a bunch for that while he's out of the country. And there's much more legal work around the loopholes of that stuff, and it seems like those guys can get paid much easier. Class of 2025, Syracuse landed a top 25 player in power forward, Sadiq White Jr. Mr. Autry, good work. We will see Sadiq White in, I don't know, 15 months, 18 months. He'll be on a court. So not going to dwell on that. Transfer news again, still waiting for some of the final dominoes to fall. I believe Matt Winnick tweeted his 21 guys he has a high major grade on still, or a power 5 grade on. I think I have a similar amount roughly. So just a few big domino pieces to fall. We'll get our winners and losers done after that. The one big one to mention here, Kai, Texas Tech getting JT Toppin from New Mexico, seemingly a perfect fit for Grant McCaslin's defensive scheme. That team could be terrifying on that end. But again, we will talk a little more Red Raiders later. But yeah, Toppin a big piece for them. Finally, in the waiver denials, I mentioned N'Faly Dante, and this is again right in line with the 2020 21 doesn't count and never has, and people shouldn't get an extra year for it. He's denied a extra year of playing for Oregon. The Ducks are trying to get this based on either that, where he played 6 games in that season, but again, it was a free year, so there's no extra year of eligibility for it, or his freshman year when he played 12 of their 29 games, which is above the threshold of 30% for a medical redshirt, and they were the final 12. And the rule has to be like the start of the year. In the first 50% of the year, you play less than 30% of total games. Neither of those were met by Dante. But Matt, somebody got in Jay Billis's ear and he went on a crazy rant on Twitter, which gave Oregon fans all the confidence to be like, see, we're right. He should get to play. And it bums me out when somebody with that big of a platform is that loudly wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like Dante. I'm a little more sympathetic to this one.
I like
right,
Dante.
though.
He has 0% of a case, like literally none.
Just the injury thing the complexity of his injury stuff has nothing to do with it at all. No. Okay.
No,
yeah.
the rules are cut and dry. The NCAA's enforced them, like the injury rule and the COVID year rule, like very flat and standard across, and he doesn't meet either one. So,
all right. Well, thank you for your service, N'Faly. Could like to see him healthy for a full season.
Go pro.
But nice.
Go pro.
Yeah, you'll be okay there.
Yeah.
Nate Biddle season.
I mean,
Nate Biddle season.
I love Oregon next year with Shellstad and Kwame Evans, and they'd be better with N'Faly Dante. There's just no case for his extra year. Like it
just feels right, Jim. Just feels right, doesn't it? No.
Yeah. That's no, not even to me. Doesn't feel right. I'm out. I'm banging my gavel and being the stickler, get off my lawn type of guy. All right, that's it for Roots Roundup, fellas. We can get into draft decisions. So Kai, back to you.
Yes, NBA draft decisions. We will go into this a little bit here. Some winners and losers for your consideration. Let's start though with Arizona really quick. Jim graded them as an appropriate TBD. Not necessarily a winner or a loser. If you would have said Caleb Love was going to be a 5-year college basketball player coming out of high school, and especially after the UNC championship run, that's got to be the biggest upset in the last 5 years, Matthew. Thoughts?
I like Caleb Love in college basketball. I just like like some of these guys, they're just there so long that they become characters. Like Hunter Dickinson is sort of a character at this point. Better player than Caleb Love. I think less deficiencies, but I like that he's in the sport for the sport, Kai. Obviously, I'm not. If I were in charge of player acquisition for my team, I wouldn't be dropping big backs for him, Jim. I wouldn't be making my first text to the Caleb Love camp, but I'm glad that he's still around. He's still chucking in a place where it is awfully fun to play basketball, especially on offense.
Yeah, I mean, I tweeted he's had 34 games in his career, taking 15 or more shots and shooting 40% or worse. And he's only had 13 games where he takes 15 or more shots and makes 45% or better. Like, he is boomer bust, but it is way more bust. I believe Sam Federman had a good stat about he's like 11 of 68 in his team's elimination games the past 3 years, like final year or maybe in his career. Like, it's such a kind. You said it all through his Arizona season last year. Like, I don't trust a team led by Caleb Love. Yeah. And then in the Sweet 16, he lays an egg. That's just kind of what Caleb Love does. Unfortunately, you go as far as he does, and that's sometimes that choo-choo train runs out of gas.
He has shot over 900 threes in his career, and he is 32%. That's not very good.
Not first year he was like 26%. So hey, he raised it.
He did indeed. Okay, so yeah, we don't know if they're a winner or a loser. I don't know. I mean, 5th-year point guard, shooting guard. I'll call it a win, I suppose, for Arizona.
It's a win for the floor.
Yes,
it might be a loss for the NCAA tournament ceiling.
Hey, more winners. College hoops in general. A lot of guys are back in the sport. We mentioned Love, but it really speaks to the NIL piece of everything, getting guys, real talent to stay for more than just one season, which, remember, the one and done era was like, oh, college basketball's done. Right? High school guys to pros, one and done. college basketball is nothing, and now it's kind of coming back with talent, with the NIL definitely being a huge factor of it. So, hooray, we're winners, college basketball.
Go us.
Woohoo.
And some of those guys back, right? Coleman Hawkins, big name still out there. I would not want him on my team. That's just
So Coleman Hawkins has become like the larger than life, like the Hunter Dickinson of last season. Like his presence,
He waited
and
it out. He waited it out and became
really
outsized
well
importance.
shrewd business play by Coleman, and now we have everyone thinking he is like the biggest fish in the pond, and like when he signs, it's going to move the needle. I mean, he's a very, very, very good player. I think to some teams where he might go, we'll see. Some whispers in the Trilly Discord. Wink, wink. Please join if you want to. Where he might land could be massively impactful, but generally, I'm just like the hype has far superseded the actual substance here, in my opinion. Sorry, Coleman.
This always happens like late in the offseason when like a bit of news happens, that team just like gets christened. And
Yep.
We'll talk about them maybe next here with Alabama, but like the two guys they get back, this is the team everyone is excited about right now. And that's why Alabama's getting like ballyhooters number one. And some people rightfully vote them there, and maybe they will be the best team in the country and win the title, but it's not any surefire lock the way Jonathan Givony tweeted. They will be number one. Like, all right, bud, you don't even follow college basketball as a competitive sport. You just scout it. So that was odd. I feel like I'm trying to think back, like Creighton maybe got Trey Alexander back late and got a lot of hype one year. It just kind of that's how it happens when there's a news story that breaks late. We've got to like pump that team up. So wherever Coleman Hawkins goes will be that next like it team.
Givony, I know him as Bronny James' mouthpiece, Bronny James Camp's mouthpiece, calling Bronny James one of the most athletic and explosive players in the draft, first round possibilities.
Late first round landing spots, many destinations for Bron.
Thankfully, this is
I'm going to guess there are six figures of dollars in Givony's pocket.
I'm just bummed. Here, my whole thing. So I get why people like it actually moves the needle for the content. So I get why they do it. I mean, I get why there's a focus on him. I'm just bummed as a college basketball fan. I think he'd actually be like a really fun college player, like a multi-year, like real valuable power conference winning team type of country. Not a star. I don't think he was ever going to be a star, but like I would have liked to have seen that, especially if he could have like the mid-major thing, go to Duquesne, play for Joyce, and do kind of the whole, kumbaya circle with LeBron's old thing. I would have liked, there was a fun story to LeBron James' path, and now it's just going to fizzle out in the NBA draft over coverage, and that bums me out. Yeah. That's a shame.
Anywho, so yeah, a lot of guys back, still need teams. Arthur Kaluma, Wooga Poplar, Trayvon Brazile, come back to Mizzou, maybe. Jameer Watkins and
would you take him?
Brazile?
Man, I feel like he's
off injury. I think he's really
well. I'm just
I'd take him over Josh Gray if we're talking centers.
He kind of threw some strays at you I think when you guys played last year. Subtly.
Yeah, whatever. He didn't play, did he?
Forgive and forget. Forget.
Yeah. Wow, so much compassion on this program. I love
it. Winners.
Yeah, just like I just wrote down teams in need because so many guys in the portal came back between Hawkins, Poplar, Kaluma, Brazile, Jameer Watkins, Onyenso, like guys that could have gone pro and instead are going to be able to help a college team. So somebody like Arkansas that has like 8 scholarship players, hey, you've got some guys to chase.
Yeah, and Jim mentioned Alabama, clear winner, getting Sears back, getting Jaron Stevenson back as well. Yes, there is a little bit of we made a Final Four last year, bleeding into the rankings, right? You're seeing Alabama kind of being tossed around as number one team. They could be. Grant Nelson and Jordan and Mark Sears. I think I call him Jordan Sears. And Mark Sears, yeah, that's one of the best combos in college basketball, full stop. I would say maybe a top 5 team, but I'll definitely have them top 10. Number one, maybe not, but this is less egregious than we've seen in the past. Like when Miami was ranked in the top 10 by some people after their Final Four run. It's not that silly, I suppose.
Just for a point of objective reference, you can't yell at me. This is not me doing this. This is a computerized algorithm. Bart Torvik's projections for next year have Alabama 11th and the 3rd in the SEC behind Tennessee and Auburn. You can't throw tomatoes at me. That is a computer making that evaluation, and Bart's ratings are generally pretty solid. So you don't have to put them number one. Don't let anybody peer pressure you into putting Alabama number one. Make your own decisions, folks.
Yeah, Wake Forest, huge winner, and we've talked a lot about them in the Discord today in Burner Ball. Hunter Salas is back. That's a team that all three of us really like. I think we were tossing around. They're probably a top 3 team in the ACC on paper right now. You could say whatever, 4 or 5, top 4 or 5, but a contender and an NCAA tournament team finally, Wake Forest. So kudos.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
Iowa got Peyton Sanford back. That's huge. He is their leading scorer. He is their guy now. Had a great season last year. Really stepped up. We mentioned that in the Big Ten pod last week. So kudos to Iowa. In unfair news, UConn got Alex Caravan back. I'm a little surprised. Is it because Caravan didn't test very well athletically? I know he did. I know he's kind of like the lowest vertical, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, he's like the worst athlete there.
I mean, he's awesome. I think he'll be a fine pro personally, but
I watched that guy like block 3-pointers.
yeah.
Like he can't be that bad of an athlete. Maybe he's just better functional than he is as a tester. But yeah, he doesn't look like a bad athlete, deficient athlete on the court to me. No. That guy is just an awesome basketball player.
He's an awesome basketball player. Congrats to UConn. Matt's boy, Nelly Davis, he's back. I don't think, was this any doubt? He's back. He's going to Arkansas.
Yeah,
he announced. He was in those announcements, so I put him in here.
I'm very curious to see how he does outside of FAU. I guess all those guys, because they had such a tight-knit system at FAU, including Martin and Golden. Just how do they thrive outside of it?
Yep.
Very curious to see that happen. Kentucky, huge get. Jackson Robinson coming back and following Pope to Kentucky. I saw, and I apologize, I don't know if it's Kyle Tucker. It might have been Kyle Tucker, one of the Kentucky guys that tweets a lot. He said Kentucky missed on a few big guys. They missed on Chaz Lanier, but they got Jackson Robinson. Hold on. I'd rather have Jackson Robinson than Chaz Lanier, personally.
Same. 100% same.
I don't even think it's close either.
Chaz Lanier could be anything. He could even be Jackson Robinson. Whoa.
Yeah. I think it's definitely close, but I love that what you're getting with Robinson, and that's just for what Pope I think should be targeting. That's just a higher floor, safer pick. Whether you think Lanier's good or not, just take Robinson. He's good.
Might be a higher ceiling too.
Also, did he confirm he's coming back? He didn't. There was crickets until like this morning, right? Everyone's like, "Whoa, Jackson Robinson, paging Jackson Robinson."
He announced back and headed to Kentucky today, this afternoon.
Good.
But yeah,
Good.
He was like a guy that the deadline passed, and we're like, "Why didn't we hear anything?"
Yeah,
my theory is his edit wasn't ready. His edit wasn't ready.
Yeah, big backlog there.
And then one more SEC team, Ole Miss, Matthew Morrell back, huge. He was, I'd say, best player, right? Morrell, best player, yeah.
One of best, yeah.
Will he be best next year with the guys they added? That's the question.
Still good
real quick, where do you guys stand on Ole Miss? Because I think Goodman has them top 15, and I am just like, holy brake pumping.
No.
My God, am I not there?
No, they're not top 15.
Okay. No.
Really? Top 15?
Right. He's got him way up there. I think somebody in Burner said top 15. Maybe they were being hyperbolic and I'm getting caught reading that hyperbole, but he adores them next year. And
let's remind the folks at home, Ole Miss was 86th in KenPom last year.
And bad on defense in the first year without the charge, which was a huge part of Beard's defense. And I don't know. We'll see. I think there's a little more question to that.
Yeah, a good curated list of winners there for Jim. Some losers here. Memphis, lost David Jones. That's a big loss. We just found out that Mizzou Memphis is going to be opening night. Oh man, excited for that game. Mizzou at Memphis. Woohoo! Can't wait to see that. And I'm thankful that they don't have David Jones. All right.
I hope it's not a repeat of last year, Kai, where we rutted the bed all second half.
We did. Kansas, yes. Scott in the chat, he mentioned Johnny Furphy gone. Interesting choice. Is he going to get drafted?
Yeah.
Oh, he's like first rounder.
I think first rounder.
6'9" guy.
I feel like he's going to be really good. Yeah, Kyle, I'm in on Murphy. I know I've been stubbornly. I think
you don't even know his name.
Furphy.
That's what I said.
You said Murphy.
Sure.
Furphy. No, I said Furphy. David Furphy.
I would take him
Johnny
over
Furphy.
Bronny James Jr.
Yeah, I would too.
Okay.
Kind of hot take. Big loss for Kansas next year. I think they really could have used him. Is that stupid? Is that a dumb take?
I think they're still.
I'm sure. Of course, they could have used the guy that was going to get drafted in the first round, but I feel like self-recruited, expecting
around
him
that.
To be gone.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, Griffin and Storr obviously can shoot too. So maybe it's an overlooked. It's a stuffed position ballot there, but I thought he was a pretty key piece to keeping the thing together when they had like no players last season.
Jalen Wells went pro. He was in the portal. It was going to be a big get for
Bummer.
somebody. Gone.
Huge
Matt
bummer.
loves
I
Jalen
love that
Wells.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
I do
awesome.
too.
Nothing he can't do. Does
The
everything well.
4 point play at Arizona to win
Mm.
that scared the living crap out of me for Arizona winning the Pac-12. Oh, Jalen Wells put the fear of God in me.
And then Jim, a Bowling Green guy.
Jay-Z Zahir, I believe he averaged zero point 0.7 points and 1 rebound. He is like the nephew of Tom Gores, the like president of Detroit Pistons basketball operations.
Okay.
This got repeatedly clowned on Twitter, as it should, because I'm guessing Gores knows Rothstein or something, because he like tweeted Joey Zahir is going pro from Bowling Green, deleted it and wrote Jay-Z Zahir is going pro from Bowling Green. It's like, you don't need to be reporting on this guy. This is beneath you unless you were doing someone a favor, which I think he was doing someone a favor. But he was like essentially a walk-on for Bowling Green. This is like Ricky Francois Kai, or Gene, the Desiree's son, declaring pro.
Yeah.
Jackson Francois.
Whatever.
Yeah. So it was just kind of funny, the amount of people who are like, "What? This guy's terrible." It's like, I think it's a bit. I don't think he thinks he's getting drafted.
Well, good for him. Congrats on being a pro, Zahir.
Chase your dreams.
Chase your dreams.
No dreams too small. All right. Yep. Too big. I mean,
that's correct. Hey, you know what? The conference isn't apparently not big enough. That's the Big 12 because they added more teams. But again, we're only going to talk about the 14 last year. Let's get into the Big 12 state of the programs and look back to last season, as we've done for the other leagues. Going in standings order once again. Let's just overarching remind the folks at home. Houston, Big 12, no problem. They won the league by 2 games. There was a lot of naysayers, doubters out there saying Houston could not dominate this league like they did, like they did with the American last couple of years. And guess what? They did. They're 15-3 in the league. They're awesome, Jim.
Just wait till they have to play a good schedule. Yada yada. God, that was just. It's so awesome to have people who said that have to watch them do what they did last year and win arguably the best conference in the country by 2 full games.
Yeah.
It just made a never-ending smile for me every time they won a game. I tweeted it constantly. Just wait till they have to play in a real league, et cetera, et cetera. Good job, Houston. They were always good, and they remain good.
And we'll dive into Houston a little bit. We'll dive into Iowa State, who finished second by 2 games above the next couple teams, Baylor and Texas Tech. The most surprising, well, I'll go tied most surprising. We'll talk, again, these teams in a bit. But BYU performing like they did, tying for 5th with Kansas, another team, shockingly, that finished tied for 5th, Matt, because they've won this league how many times in Bill Self's tenure? It's really bizarre to see them this low in the standings.
10-8. Yeah, very weird. But I mean, this was sort of the risk we talked about. They had no depth and basically 4 stars and 3.5 by the end of the year because they had injuries down the stretch. But it is weird to see them, and especially with as good as their home court is, to lose 8 games is pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Board bets to recap, fellas. Only one, and we're going to do more board bets this year, and we're going to put them as suggested by Zyler in the Discord. In the Discord, we're going to have a board bets channel, and we're going to really track these and hopefully get some sides for the Discord faithful. Get to pick which side you're on. Might maybe do some board bets with the Discord fellas themselves.
We can overreact early if a team's like, "Oh, suck it, Matt. TCU's 4-1 in the Big 12."
Right.
There's going to be a lot of smack talk going on those.
But the board bet was TCU versus Cincinnati in the Big 12 standings. So Matt took Cincy.
Important
Jim and Kai
clarification.
took TCU eagerly. Matt almost, by the way, said Cincy over Iowa State, to which Jim and I both jumped on immediately. Then Matt retracted that. He said TCU instead. TCU did finish above Cincy in the standings. However, to Matt's credit, Cincy finished higher in KenPom than TCU. So call that a bit of a wash, I think. Matt, not a crazy bet by you.
Cincy could win close games.
Mm-hmm.
Lost. I mean, at Big 12, it's like every game's close. I think it was 3rd in KenPom's close game rating. Basically, a lot of these games are close, as you'd expect. A lot of really good teams. And Cincy, I think they started off, 1 in 2 and 4 in the conference. They won at BYU. I was like, wow, won at BYU. And then they lost by 1, 3, 4, and 5 in 3 of their next 4 games. So close.
333rd.
Close, Wes.
333rd in Ken Palm's luck stat. So essentially close game performance. I wish he would change the name of that stat.
I agree. I don't like luck either.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dive into some teams really quick here. Not really quick. We'll spend some time. Houston, number 1. Yes, this program is elite. It's one of the best in the country. It's been one of the best since Kelvin Sampson got there. Kai and Jim, preseason podcast, both had them number 1 in the Big 12. Matt took Kansas. Can't blame Matt, but hooray, me and Jim. Matt did say that Houston was a stone cold lock to be top 20 in offensive rebounding rate. He was right. They were 11th. That is a Kelvin Sampson
Not a hot
staple.
take.
Not a hot take at all. No,
not a hot take
not whatsoever. But Houston was awesome. State of the program couldn't be better. Even when Kelvin's son takes over, it's still going to be an awesome program, in my opinion. Jim.
Yeah, this team was 3rd in preseason Ken Palm, and they were plus 450 to win the Big 12. I had a nice winner there. Really enjoyed that. Put my money where my mouth was in the preseason podcast. Yeah, I don't know what else you say about them. Like, they almost never lose transfers. Like Tremon Mark was one guy that left, and I think there were some rumors that maybe Arsenault would leave off his Achilles, but he's back. They got LJ Cryer and Jalen Roberts to play their 5th years. Like, they're going to be another juggernaut again next year, Matt, and for as long as Kelvin Sampson's there. Matt, how do you feel about them? Like, it's going to be Kelvin Sampson as the next coach, like stone cold, Harvard and
Yep.
Is that good? I like when schools like this do a search, but
I agree.
I don't know. Maybe this is different. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I know he is like a pivotal part of what's been built there, obviously under his dad. So I'm like, I'd be a little more confident actually in him than I would be in like, a Shire or a Hubert Davis situation or a Kyle Neptune where it's like an in-house family type of pick sort of thing. It's just crazy to see how similar their statistical DNA looks every season. And they've actually had some turnover in recent years, but they still do all the things that they always do really well. Even when it's like, oh, well, this guy, can he defend? Can LJ Cryer really defend it? It's like, it's Houston. They're going to defend. They're going to rebound. They do what they got to do. And yeah, they're a BS Jamal Shed injury away from who knows how far they go. Probably not beating UConn, but hey, everyone was playing for second last year anyway. So
yeah. Indeed. Houston, yep, you're in good shape. Congratulations.
Yeah.
The team that finished second last year, Iowa State, man. Once again, people were too low on this team, and that's like 3rd straight year. I think TJ Otzelberger, people have been low on Iowa State. Picked 7th in the Almanac by Mr. Rob Douster. He wrote the Big 12. We will be referencing some of his ranks throughout this breakdown. Credit to Kai. Yes, I'm going to eat crow later, but I'll credit myself when credit's due. I had him 5th.
Toot that horn, Kai. Oh, boy.
I said Lipsy just wins, man. Lipsy's awesome. I said they were locked to be good on defense. Jim was confident the floor is super high. Enough juice, he said, for them to be top 100 in offense, which would be a first for Otzelberger. They were indeed 52nd, so that was correct. The offense was way better.
My guy Momkilovich came through. Yeah,
he
did indeed. And Matt, of course, interesting. Matt said high floor, low ceiling for Iowa State.
Yeah, I was wrong.
Not a horrible take in the preseason, but yeah. What do you think about the clones, Matthew?
I was going to say, which of the 3 seasons of Otzelberger, it was like his best job? First year was like the complete holy crap turnaround. Second year was, oh, he lost a lot. Can he replenish it? And it's like, yeah, he did, and outpaced expectations. And then last season was sort of the 3rd holy cow breakthrough. They looked like a real elite top tier, top 10 team for most of the year. It just keeps raising the bar. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I just think we even, as much as we liked Otzelberger coming back, I think the one year at UNLV sort of like, do we know he's that good? Like, Mike Dom at South Dakota State, like, So
2 years at UNLV and
2 years,
under,
right? Yeah,
under 500 in aggregate. Like, they hired a guy that went 12 and 15 in the Mountain West. I'm sure if we did coaching grades that off season, it was like a C or something.
Maybe it was the Bryce Hamilton Ewing theory. I don't know, but anyway, he has it rolling here, and I just think it's such a sustainable model. And I'm tired of all the people getting mad about them gaming the net by beating shitty teams. Like, no one's
people don't really understand the net. That's
like I don't. Why does it? Who cares? Like. That's not the reason they got in the tournament last year. Like, they were just really good regardless of that. Like, that doesn't like make you a 5 seed to a 12 seed. That's just like maybe makes a seed line or 2 difference at the margins. But I'm tired of hearing that. And I'm glad they actually, they have enough beef on their postseason resume now, where I think people take this program seriously despite sort of the flack they get for playing bad teams for much of November.
Yeah. Worth noting. So Matt mentioned, Otzelberger's been there 3 years. Preseason KenPom rank versus finishing rank: 113 to 43 in 2022, 62 to 29 in 2023, 31 to 8 last season. I mean, he's just blown away expectations in 3 years. So the state of the program is, you can't get much better right now.
It's my favorite program in the Big 12, I think, just as an aside. So I'm glad it's a good. Yeah, it's an easy bandwagon program to get behind.
It is.
It's in like the Dayton, Iowa States, just good programs. People like it. I'm into it.
Yeah. Baylor and Texas Tech tied for third. We'll go Baylor first here, diving into the Bears. In the preseason pod, we really hyped up JTT being healthy. Cha-Cha barely played. It was, in fact, Missy, the freshman sensation that was really good for this team. They were still not great defensively. Unfortunately, we were pretty worried about the offense for this team. And, man, I did not like listening to myself on this podcast. They were 7th preseason in offense on KenPom. I said, I don't think they're even close to that. And guess what? They finished 6th. Pretty good guess by old KenPom there in the computer systems. And also, Jim, Ray J. Dennis was way better than I expected in the Big 12. He really lived up to his considerable expectations, and I will eat crow for that.
Yeah, and shout out to his name on Twitter is Negative Mets Fan. That's his name, not his handle. But the guy that all season trolled me, I don't know why it was just me for Ray J. Dennis stuff, not either of you two, but just every time we tweeted about Baylor or Baylor won a game, he's like, when will you acknowledge Ray J. Dennis? Well, when will you say that he's a great player? And Ray J was terrific. Baylor was really good again. Drew just has figured out how to get guys to make threes. In the same way that Houston's opponents always miss threes, Baylor's just all right, top 10 3-point percentage. They don't miss. Even with Jacoby Walter not being as much of a sniper as expected, they still rank top 5 nationally in 3-point percentage. Baylor's going to be fun to watch for a while. I have some concerns a little bit, Matt, with the continued drain in the assistant ranks. Tang left. That seemed to hurt the defense. Jake is now at FAU. I think they had one other assistant leave for a job Brooks went to the Kentucky staff, right? So that's, brain drain on the assistants could potentially be a deficiency, but Scott Drew is going to keep them right up near the top.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing is just with the momentum, the success they've had. We've seen this with Oates at Alabama, right? How he has to replenish the assistant cupboard every season. That's tough to do, but I think when you have a system as good as Baylor's instilled, right, stylistically on both ends, just the cachet of their shot making and the guard play, and they replenish that every year. Yeah, I think it's a repeatable. It's even exceeded my expectations coming off the title year. I thought there'd be a bigger cool down dip off of the dominant title run, Kai, but it really hasn't. They've still been top 10, really good. I mean, legit upper echelon of this league, neck and neck with Kansas.
Yep.
Scott Drew we get bored of citing how good he's done, and so he is somehow underrated as we've gone so deep into his tenure, but it's worth just it's a pretty insane thing what he's doing right now.
Yep. Elite coach, another top 15 program pretty much every single year.
Yeah, they have not been outside the KenPom top 40 since 2011. So 13 straight years in the top 40, 11 of those inside the top 30. Yep. They're a pencil them in the top 25 every year kind of team now.
Very good freshman success. I'll add that too. One of the few, all of their freshmen who are supposed to be big name marquee guys, whether it's high end 5 stars, even fringe 5-star, 4 stars, they all splash right away. So I think it's another credit to just the talent identification and integration, I guess.
Matt, you're going to love VJ Edgecombe. He's awesome.
That's the number one. Everyone has this guy circled guy. So yeah, I guess I'm going to have to invest.
Texas Tech, so we're going next. Yes, Grant McCasland. Kai thinks they overachieved in the preseason. They did. They finished tied for 4th. They were voted the sleeper team by fellow coaches in the Almanac. So there was some expectation for them to overachieve. Jim said they'd be rock solid. He was correct. We all thought their defense would be very, very good. It really wasn't that good. It was the offense that kind of carried this team, which was interesting. Pretty much the exact opposite we really thought. And I also wanted to point this one out. Matt did say Texas Tech was the toughest place to win at home in the country. Now, Kim Palm does have them as the number one home court advantage, but Matt just 8-9 against the spread at home last year.
Yeah, but they were hurt and they were a shell themselves down the stretch. And
The hurt excuses.
and by the way, Kansas lost at home. BYU beat Kansas at home. Kansas was not terrifying anybody at home last season, except for
Well,
Houston. That was pretty impressive.
And hey, he didn't say toughest place to cover. He said toughest place to win. Texas
Win,
Tech went
baby.
15-2, 15-2 at
15
home.
and 2.
Pretty darn good.
That's good.
It was weird last season. McCaslin, offensive, scoring, space, shooting, and then they weren't physical they couldn't rebound at all. It was just very odd. And I think that was partially by design, Jim. I know he was trying to modernize some of the stuff they were doing. I remember like last offseason, they had one of their assistants tweet out some scrimmage plays for like 120 points, like, haha, quit anti-recruiting us because we're boring. Look, we can score points. The problem is that when they had some of those injuries pile up, I think the pendulum swung too far and was like, wow, Texas Tech can't really get a stop on, can't get a rebound here. It was odd. It was a very weird one-off thing. In the big picture, the Cavs rocks. I don't think anyone doubts that, right?
Yeah, it almost like, last year I was excited about them and my classic overhype a first year coaches team, but delivered here with them getting a 6 seed in his first year on the job. Just really surprised in how they did it. As Kai mentioned, thought it would be defensive force with Warren Washington on holding down the back line and not really able to score points. And turns out they could shoot the lights out with McMillan and Williams and Kerwin Walton were all like 45% or better from deep. They did not miss. And the defense was super lacking, especially down the stretch when Washington was hurt, as Matt's mentioning. That just kind of ended up being an Achilles heel. Teams were able to pulverize them inside. Defense wasn't even that much better with Washington on the floor, but per Hoop Explorer, they allowed 55% at the rim when Washington played, and it was 65% when Washington sat. So down the stretch, they just had no protection inside. But yeah, going forward, Kai, super terrific hands. They got a sitting Mountain West coach to come be an assistant in Jeff Linder. Like that's a pretty positive sign. So despite losing Smart to Pacific, who I think we all really, really respect, I still have a lot of faith in the staff.
As do I. We were on the Grant McCaslin train. We were first. We're first. BYU is next. How about BYU, man? Finishing tied 5th with Kansas. We get a dunk on Rob Douster a little bit here, our favorite thing to do. He picked them 13th in the Almanac. I said he got this one completely wrong. Jim said they were massively undervalued as the number 13 team. Jim said the offense could be really good. It was 14th in the country.
Yeah.
I said shooting would be a strength. It was actually kind of so-so. It wasn't really shooting that was like their bet. They shot a lot of threes, but they were like, middle of the road in terms of percentage from the outside at least. Matt did not love this team. Liked them, didn't love them. Do you love them now, Matthew?
Yeah, you hate Mark Pope. Always have.
Yeah, what did I say? I didn't. I was a
lukewarm
fence rider. Yeah, okay.
You were worried how they would get shots, is what you said.
Well, here's where their shots. They got shots in every which. They were dead last in the country last season in field goal attempts inside the paint. Every shot was from 30 feet or beyond. I remember listening to the Kelvin Sampson postgame presser, and he was like flabbergasted as to like, oh my God, that team just shoots from everywhere and at any point. And they're usually pretty open because the offense they run's awesome. They're awesome in transition. Hope system, again, sustainable system, has a brand. We'll see how that translates to Kentucky, but we'll see, more importantly, how it continues with Kevin Young, Jim, which I think you're in on. I'm not as sold. So it's a weird.
No. What?
You're not a Young guy?
No, I'm more like the
34.
Sell.
I was getting scolded in the.
All the NBA guys love him. You're not buying it, and I kind of agree with you. Yeah, I'm hesitant. I'm with you.
I think one of the more interesting state of the programs, though, Jim.
It is.
Yeah, very much so, because Pope was, seemingly had it really going there, and then suddenly Kentucky swoops in and gets him, and now you bring in a guy with no college experience, but he has very much acknowledged that and brought in, I think, a strong, experienced college staff. Real quick, Matt, to your point with the Kelvin Sampson thing, they took 38 threes and 21 twos against Houston. So BYU is definitely bombing away. I think on one of the final shows before season, we did hot takes. I said BYU would wear home jerseys in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Boom. That was a good one. All right. Hooray.
Nice.
But yeah, state of the program it's mercurial. They lost some solid guys to the portal. I don't totally get the fit with Keba Keita and Fus Traore. They seem very redundant to me, and you can't really play them together. And I liked having Khalifa as the change of pace passer last year. I don't know, Kai. It's going to be a feeling out process watching them play, and probably for them too, just like figuring out what they're going to be.
Very tough team to peg next year to rate. We'll get into that as we get closer to the season, though. Kansas injuries. We were worried about the depth going into the year last year. We knew their top four was great. It was just a question of the other pieces. I was never on the Timberlake train. I'm glad that never came to fruition.
Wrong by me.
Just wasn't
wrong
good.
by me.
Well, Matt, your boy, you said my guy is Marco Jackson, and he struggled as a freshman.
He did.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like that was the whole. I mean, we were there at the Champions Class. I think we saw the story start to develop for the entire Kansas year. Was like, who is going to help out these awesome core four veterans, right? And like, they had so much gravitational attention that it almost felt like one of the role players with like LeBron James or like Michael Jordan. It's like, I'm afraid to screw up because I never get the ball when I do. It's just like, it's such a low usage spot. And like, I'm playing with gods and I'm like a peon. That was like sort of the confidence vibe, the lack of confidence vibe I got from those dudes. Zooming out though, Jim, I mean, big picture program wise, I mean, what is there to say about Kansas? Like, I know last year was sort of a step back, but like, I don't think there's any sort of transferable thing from last season that makes me worry about them not being a perennial top 3 player in this league and, elite nationally.
Yeah, and the 27th final spot in KenPom is such like a throw it out. Doesn't matter because they got smashed by Cincinnati in the Big 12 tournament when they were mega shorthanded. They got destroyed by Gonzaga, no McCullough. Like when McCullough got hurt initially, they were 17th in KenPom, much more like a top 15 team. As Scott points out in the chat, they never lose at Allen Fieldhouse. Kai, why is that?
It's the best home court advantage in the country.
They beat UConn without Steph Castle, but they did beat UConn.
It's the best home court advantage in the country.
In Houston.
I'm just waiting for you to tell us why. Why is it the best home court?
Because I don't know.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the refs. Come on.
Because the great fans and the atmosphere and the culture and the history and the prestige.
The pedigree. The refs certainly help.
All of it.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, very much like top 5 state of the program, at least top 5, maybe top 2 in the entire country. You have to feel wonderful as a Kansas fan because clearly they've got NIL too. They made it rain in the portal this offseason, and I'm sure they're paying Dickinson a hell of a lot to come back too. So like you have to acknowledge that part of the spending that's going on. Yeah, Kansas is awesome and in great shape.
They're probably my number 1 team next year. I'm just looking ahead a little bit.
Wow, you're getting egged in Tuscaloosa if you ever enter that city.
Yeah, oh well. Texas, number 7, picked 3rd preseason by Doster. Never on board with that. The 3-man weave, fellas. We stood strong because we're not really huge believers in Rodney Terry. I don't think he had a horrible year by any stretch, but he definitely didn't live up to expectations. The roster was really good on paper. Max Asmus, Jim, I would say he translated pretty darn well. We weren't super worried about that from Oral Roberts, but I think it's hard to peg sometimes how mid-major guys will do at a bigger level, and Asmus, I think, delivered.
Yeah, I think the worst thing that happened to Texas last year was almost losing to Louisville. They needed a buzzer beater to beat Louisville. That was the most alarming thing. They kind of rebounded from that and were rock solid in the Big 12, both home and away. They were one of the weird teams that like it almost didn't matter where they played. Like they won at Oklahoma, they won at TCU, they won at Texas Tech. One of the 2 teams that did that. Like they were almost hard to figure out, and I think part of that is going to be inconsistency with the coaching. The roster was really good. It's pretty darn good next year. Bart Torvik loves them in his preseason projections. I will not be as high as Mr. Torvik.
Really?
But I guess I would say Kai last year was not the start of like Terry's getting fired in 3 years kind of thing. Like it wasn't that bad. Like I don't think last year was any sort of condemnation, which is a credit to Terry. I think the ceiling is not going to be that high with him there.
Here's my concern, Jim. This gives me Villanova-ish vibes. And that sounds like a doomsday, but like, hear me out here. Like, I think it was actually a much worse year last year than what the surface looked like. So if you're anti-Rodney Terry, I think you wanted last season to go really south. So if you wanted to move on to like the next big thing, that would expedite that. But I think instead you just kind of bought yourself more of this potential treadmill of mediocrity where, I mean, they really didn't have any impressive wins in conference outside of the Baylor one at home, which was, they almost lost that game. And then the one they beat Texas Tech on the road, but that was without Warren Washington. We just talked about, meant a crap ton. So that roster was so good last season too. So good, as it is next year, right? So good. It's just frustrating if you're a Texas fan. Like, we probably should be, our floor should be trending higher than it is. And I think that the Terry factor makes that floor a little shaky, a little trembly.
I totally forgot they're in the SEC next year. That's just wrong.
That's I don't understand. I don't get it.
That. Okay, TCU, stay in the state of Texas. 8th place. Doster, good job, man. You picked him 8th. Spot on. Jim and I a little higher. We did the board bet, of course, with Matt on Cincinnati. Jim, the big question for you in the preseason, will they still stay at the same tempo, losing Miles and Baugh?
Miles and Baugh, yep.
And they did. They still played pretty quick offensively, maybe not quite as fast, but Jamie Dixon clearly going the transition route as he realizes that his teams have not been able to shoot from the outside the last 2 years.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is like what he's recruiting. Like, I'm sure he doesn't not want shooting, but he's like, yeah, we just want to be able to go. Yeah, the actual possession length offensively was shorter than the Miles season, which stuns me. They've got another group of speed demons coming in this year. Frankie Collins, Matthew, I know that's kind of a guy you secretly really love. I think TCU is going to be a little better than expectations. And I think if you gave Rodney Terry and Jamie Dixon the same rosters every year, I'd feel better about the Jamie Dixon team. So TCU is going to stay competitive, middle of the Big 12, and maybe they'll never trend all the way up. And he's never made a second weekend there despite 4 tournament berths. But what are you really expecting out of TCU basketball given the history?
So. Yeah, exactly. That's what I think. The farther we go along in this, I think we need to pinch ourselves and remind, whoa, where did we come from? Kind of like Scott Drew at Baylor, kind of like Steve Pikiell at Rutgers. This is still TCU basketball. And Jim, to your point about like the Rodney Terry thing, that's like, you just flip the rosters for TCU in Texas, how vastly different you'd feel about them. Like, there's a chance TCU could be better than Texas next season. I don't think that roster is anywhere close to as talented personally. So I love Dixon. Tough to maintain dudes, but I feel like there's a big money infusion at TCU. So I think the old "you can't win here" thing is starting to get debunked by, I think, just a pretty wealthy donor base. They've got some money, I think, relative to the overall budget. So I think it's going to be he's got some good headwinds to keep this juju going.
Yeah, I guess a lot of the history is WAC, CUSA, Mountain West, and Jamie Dixon has had the benefit of Big 12 money. So that helps.
Right.
Oklahoma. I know they finished 9th, but I say overachievement. A great job by Porter Moser. Jim said least intriguing team in the preseason. I kind of agree with that. They weren't anything exciting. You said 50 to 60 range, no real upside. They're 46th. I give you a B on that projection.
Come on. I give a 10-spot range and you finished within 4 of it?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I think they're a little better than 46.
I'll take C+.
The schedule helped at the start of the year. I mean, I was underwhelmed by the portal gets for sure in the preseason. Matt, an interesting call by you, said below 500 in the Big 12, but they'll win 6 home games. Very specific. I love specific projections. They won 5 home games. So pretty good call by you.
Should have beat Houston. Maybe, right? They almost beat Houston. Could have been. This could have been my 6th right there. It was a classic Porter Moser year. Talent's like, really, Porter? That's what you got? And then it's like, okay, yeah, look pretty good, top 50. And it all comes down to like 3 or 4 games a year where in the Big 12, you win it in 1 possession, 2 possession. You win them, you're on the right side of the bubble. Yeah. You don't, and they weren't. And that's kind of what happened last season. So yeah, I think it's another kind of like rinse, wash, repeat type of thing with Porter there, Jim.
I'm a little more concerned because I think they're going to the like bushel cornucopia of NIL money with heading to the SEC. And just based on what they've gotten in the portal last year and this year, it doesn't seem like they're chucking money around to the basketball side of things. I don't know if football's hogging it or if they for some reason don't have as much as other teams in this ilk, or if Porter doesn't want some of those higher guys and he wants guys that fit like a certain mentality. But it's going to be harder and harder to play at a talent level below what they're going against in the SEC. So I think they'll remain in like the I don't want to call it the Porter Moser zone, Kai, because he's obviously better than that. He's been to a Final Four with freaking Loyola Chicago.
Yeah.
But with the talent he's got against SEC rosters, I think it's going to be tough to. They'd be swimming upstream. We'll put it that way.
There's always questions on how long he'll be at Oklahoma. It does seem like he wants to get back. We were talking about this in Discord, back to the Midwest. Like he's in the Midwest, but like Chicago area is really where he really wants to be. Yeah, bid stealers. They got bid stolen last year. They were probably a tournament team, if not for the NC States of the world. They were just on the cut line. An okay state of the program for Oklahoma. Kansas State finished 10th. Definitely lower than we expected. Now, caveat being they lost Naquan Tomlin right before the season started with some weird circumstances. Basically got booted from the team. So we can give ourselves a little bit of slack here. Matt, you were very in on this team. Jim had him 6th. I had him 8th. Doster 5th. I was really worried about the Keontae Johnson loss, but I still called this team a tournament team with a bullet. Again, the Tomlin thing really crushed them. Tyler Perry, did he live up to expectations, Matthew? Honorable mention, all Big 12, not a first or second teamer. Your thoughts?
I'd say he did not for me, Jim. And then maybe that's just because I had too high of expectations and maybe I was thinking.
Oh, I was like, this guy's a second team All-American. I definitely overhyped. I was too far over the moon.
It sort of puts you in I think this is one of the most fascinating discussions of any of the state of the program in the Big 12. Like Jerome Tang after year 1, oh my God, we have a Messiah. Okay, year 2, sort of the back to reality. What happens when Marquise Noel doesn't go from nobody to pro level player? What happens when you don't have Key Johnson just completely having a Phoenix-like, and then you don't have Naquan Tomlin is like this dark. So I think it was some adversity, and I think they handled it okay. A little bit younger. I give them a little pass for that, but I don't know, Jim. I'm torn. I think I came away thinking I am torn on the K-State long-term. Very good coach, but I think you have to feel cooler than you did a year ago, and maybe that was just a, lightning in a bottle situation with the roster that came together in that first season.
Yeah, I mean, they got an SEC Player of the Year that no one thought was going to play ever again, and he became an All-American again. That's Johnson, and the Tomlin thing does matter a lot. Like he was potentially going to be like their best big man, and I think they had to really shuffle lineups around. But I didn't think, like you said, Perry fully capitalized on what I thought he could be in this league, and they might have put too much on him. Offense is a real question mark. He's clearly brought the defensive identity from Baylor, and like you just look at their defensive ranks and Baylor's after he left, and it's like, oh yeah, this guy can really figure it out on that end. But it seems like he needs special talent to be good offensively. And he had that like run in with the administration about Tomlin,
weird,
and the president like kicking him out. So that makes this murky to me, where I think he would take another job if it came calling, and that's a bummer.
Yeah, if he stays, I still think Tang's a fantastic coach. I don't like the holier than thou attitude necessarily, but fantastic.
People swear,
coach.
Jerome. They do.
That's just ridiculous. Shtick.
Why was I so high on this team last year? I'm like trying to like put myself in my.
I wore the Tyler Perry's colored glasses.
Maybe, yeah. I'll blame Jim. That's fine. I'll blame Jim.
They were 25 in KenPom preseason. I mean, it wasn't like just us. They had real hype around them.
I don't even like Arthur Kaluma. Why was I high on this team? What the hell?
I know.
I do think you said he was not that great in the preseason pod as well. So yeah, the Kaluma was there. The caveat. Okay. Cincinnati finished 11th. Boy, Matt was really in on this team. Now, to Matt's credit, top 40 in the country KenPom wise, they weren't bad. Matt did almost say they're going to finish higher than Iowa State. Again, he backed out of that one. He settled for TCU. I called them a good team nationally, but towards the end of the Big 12. Hooray. I picked him 12th. Feels a little low looking back. Jim, 10th. We were right around where
they landed 11th, man. Yeah, average us out, Kai. We nailed it.
Yeah. You know what? Going forward, man, Jim, I like the state of the program in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I do too.
I think Wes Miller, you can win there. We know you can win there. They have basketball history, and I think Wes Miller's a pretty good coach.
Yeah, awesome fan base too. Like that city just loves backing their college basketball teams because they don't have a pro one. And I wrote down like 116th in Brandon's last year, 101st in Miller's first year, then 50th in his second year, then 39th in his third year in KenPom. The arrow is pointing up, and you factor in that they went from the American to the Big 12, which is such a grueling, brutal gauntlet, and they continued to improve. I think that's a really good sign, Matt. And I think they showed that they've got a little bit of portal money. Dylan Mitchell is just such an awesome defensive weapon. They've got some guards, some creators there, maybe one guard short last year. James is like high upside kind of piece. And yeah, Wes Miller, we talked about it at Greensboro or his Greensboro tenure. He was not good immediately, but he figured it out. And then they became a supernova juggernaut in the SoCon. I don't think he's going to be like that elite in the Big
Yep.
12 every year, but I think he's going to be very consistent tournament guy within another year or two.
Yeah, I agree. And he actually had some younger dudes last year that he bet on. I mean, Jizzle James, I think, is like the obvious one. Him is one of many that did stay, right? I think really good continuity speaks to the Wes Miller knows what he's doing. The program has a ton of interest, ton of money, as Jim mentioned, well funded, well supported. I think it does, as weird as it felt to me 2 years ago, Cincinnati in the Big 12, thinking about that coming to fruition. Now it's like, oh yeah, Cincinnati Big 12. Like it just, and that I think it's a credit to Cincinnati's momentum they've made under Miller. I know they didn't translate that into enough wins to make like tournament buzz, but as I was saying earlier, I just think they were on the doorstep so many times. You keep banging your head against the wall, eventually it's going to crack. And I think next year it will.
Hey, shout out to Jizzle James in the burner because you cannot type his first name. The message will get blocked by
Really?
the Discord because it's like
Oh,
like a
wow.
graphic name.
What's the
Yeah, you
workaround?
can't do it.
Jazzle?
You
Jazzle
a lot
James?
of the Cincy fans do J asterisk ZZLE.
Nice.
I am not a. That's amazing.
Hey, worth noting, Cincy has not been in the tournament since 2019. That was Cronin's last year. They maybe would have made it in 2020, but we'll never know. UCF finished 12th. Dasha picked them last. I picked them 13th. I think we all thought they were bottom three for sure in this league. In theory, a really good defensive team, said Mr. Kai. Okay, 21st defensively. How about that? But we all had questions about their offense. They were 148th offensively. Jim, comfortable that they would finish 70 through 100 in Kimpom. They finished 66th. You're wrong again,
God,
Jim.
I keep missing my
spots.
ranges
By
by
four
4.
spots. High floor, low ceiling, said Jim. Correct. Honestly, I know they finished. I think they were better than I expected, though, I would say.
I agree. There are good vibes around this team mostly. Right. They were competitive. I think, again, credit to them and Cincy, both clearly, BYU too, clearly belonged. And I think the margin for error was a lot thinner with UCF with like, do we like their guards? Johnny Dawkins in a Big 12 environment with a lot of really good coaches. Is UCF really getting the talent that can? So, I mean, all things considered, I think a really strong opening campaign for Mr. Dawkins. The question is, can he keep it going, Jim? That's going to be tough as you have to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah, and like they always seem to fill their roster late. They really did it last year, or excuse me, 2 years ago when I was writing them for the American for the Almanac, and kind of felt like they did it last year too. And this year it's not all the way put together immediately. So that's a little bit of a question. And Matt, you saw who they hired as an assistant, right? Who I'm going to be skeptical about.
Ooh, who? No, I missed.
Nolan Smith.
Oh, no.
I don't think you want people
last.
involved in that Louisville disaster. I did not get warm and fuzzies about that hire. So yeah, he's not like hot seat really, and I don't think the expectations are terribly high in the Big 12 at UCF. But Kai, it's just lukewarm. It's kind of a blah to me.
Hire Nolan Smith. You officially have a negative outlook for the state of the program under my.
There you go. There you go. Analytics, get the hell out of my face about analytics.
That's a immediate no for me on the resume. You tweeted that analytics don't mean see ya.
Maybe he's just like I don't know, maybe he's like a Dobo. He's just gonna do more of he won't be involved in actual basketball related on court 2 minutes to go in the huddle decision making. If he's sort of outside that arena, that's probably okay.
Last two teams here. Oklahoma State at 13. Hey, Matt almost picked them 13th in the preseason pod. Jim was lower on them too at 11th. For some reason, I liked this team preseason. Per my words on the preseason pod, I said they'd be 7-11 in the league and bubble team. Nope, they were not. They were horrible. However, Jim, Javon Small, little credit where credit is due.
Yep.
We were not convinced he'd be that great in the Big 12. He was pretty darn good. Their best player by far, and honestly pretty productive.
Yeah, he's the only reason they didn't sink into the abyss.
Yeah.
My God, he rescued them. I want to say he missed like the first, oh, no, yeah, he missed the first game. They lost to Abilene Christian. Then he came back and suddenly was like, oh yeah, okay, they really needed this guy's and Ken Palm MVP in 4 of the next 7 games. But yeah, the wheels really fell off. I think Boynton obviously acknowledged it, and the administration was ready to move on. He never really he finished over 500 once in the Big 12 in 8 seasons.
Yeah.
Tough league. But Matt, now he's with your boy Dusty up at Michigan, and he's probably going to be a terrific assistant in that
Yes.
role. And I love the Steve Lutz hire. He has made the tournament in all 3 seasons as a head coach. He's never lost a conference tournament game. That's kind of ridiculous at the mid-major level. I don't love the roster in the first season, and perhaps resources are a little thin for him there, but I have confidence he is going to be a guy that builds, Matthew. He's just too brilliant of a guy not to.
Yeah, builder. 2 programs he's touched, 2 excellent campaigns in very instant success fashion. Just a bummer last year for Boynton. Just too many young guys, and I think again one of many examples where you're a little bit reliant on a young team, especially at this level. It can go south in a hurry. But yeah, Javon Small, Kai, as an aside, East Carolina transfers. Like, imagine what East Carolina, if you could just put together all of the defectors and smash them into like an all-decade team. It's like ECU, pretty good squad there.
Remember when Joe Dooley rocked at Gulf Coast and then apparently squandered all this talent at East Carolina? Goodness.
Yeah. I don't know.
Weird.
His second stint there too, right? He had 2
boomerang back.
Yeah. Steve Lutz, great hire. I think the state of the program is fine, personally. Steve Lutz is going to do some good stuff there.
Well funded, good tradition. I think he'll be fine. Yep.
West Virginia, dead last. Obviously, the Bob Huggins thing was a big reason. He got a DUI. He got fired. He kind of said he never quit or never actually left. I don't know. It was a weird situation. Josh Eilert was the interim coach. I'm not really going to judge Eilert too harshly. Tough situation. Wasn't the guy for the job long term. They hired DeVries from Drake, a really, really good hire. I said this team was the last place team below UCF. I was surprised. Jim agreed. Real downside. In fact, he said he was worried about West Virginia. And then we had a little debate about Kirk Risa, Matthew, against your boy, Lukosius from Cincinnati. Jim and I took Kirk Risa, and you took Lukosius. Do you stand by that?
I stand by my pick. Yeah, you guys take Kirk?
We did. We answered really quickly.
Do you still take Kirk?
Risa.
I know. I think that was an obvious answer last year. I think it's a close debate now.
I think Pope rehabilitates. I mean, he obviously wasn't good for that team last year, but
Kerr will look better because he's under Pope. But if you took him away from like took him both on average coaches, I think Lukosius is better.
I'll take Risa.
Precocious.
Risa gets a bad rap. I know he's a turnover machine, but hey, 42% from 3. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, career, he's like just doesn't miss. And Lukosius shot the crap out of the ball last year too. So
he did.
Credit to him.
Yeah, state of the program with DeVries, Jim.
Awesome home run. I mean, these last 2 teams, Oklahoma State and West Virginia, just home run hires. Like guys that I already mentioned Lutz's resume, but DeVries, like Drake was a nothing before he got there. Medved had one solid year to kind of start it. And then DeVries turned into something like completely different than what it had ever been, just repeatedly winning 25 games over and over before his son got there, after his son got there, unearthing talent. Matt, Kevin Overton's playing in this league next season because Darren DeVries found him. I have a lot of faith in him building this as well. So yeah, good hire, good state of the program.
I agree. And the program, again, well-funded, like extremely well-funded, extremely rabid fan base. Two very obvious slingshots up the totem pole next season. Well, I mean, again, you're not going to ever have a huge turnaround in this conference because everyone's so damn good, but both will be leaps and bounds better under the first year regimes next season.
And these teams are like waving to Utah and Colorado right now. Like, come on back. Come on back.
Arizona State. Yeah. Ironically, Javon Small now in West Virginia. So we know he's good. That's going to be a good gift for them.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, in the preseason pod, guys, we guessed 9 teams each for the NCAA tournament. The Big 12 got 8. Oklahoma, again, most years would have been in the tournament. The bid stealers were tough, so they took the opportunity from us to be correct on that front. Overall, this is still the best conference in America. Yes, no? Jim?
it is it's not as top to bottom anymore.
Right.
There's a
This is
little
the
more of a bottom. Like gone are the years where everybody finishes in the top like 70 of Ken Pom. That's not going to happen consistently. But I mean, they might have 5 of the top 10 teams in the country next year with Houston, Kansas, Iowa State, Arizona, Baylor are all loaded. I'll say it's still the best league, but it's man, I'm not gonna call it watered down, but it's just not quite as like unassailable anymore.
Right. And the bigger you get, the more you're going to have like yeah, every year, one or two teams just going to torpedo, right? Just a higher likelihood with the,
Yep.
just more chances to have a sneak bomb that goes off. But I it does feel like the best conference to me still. I look at like Big East, like, no, SEC, I think I'd still go Big 12 by a nose. By a nose.
I agree. Big 12 still. Okay. We have one review to do, and then we'll let you guys go. I do want to say real quick, and we don't do this all the time, but rest in peace, Bill Walton. Very obviously impactful person on college basketball. Matt and I got to meet him last year at the MAC. It was the most amazing experience ever.
Yeah, it was insane.
He was fantastic. You can read stories about him. Dave Pash has some really good tweets about him, and then like texting back and forth. It's hilarious content. I recommend you check those out. But yes.
Yeah. Titus and I did like 40 minutes
Yeah.
on Bill Walton. So if you want extended weave adjacent thoughts on that, like go listen to it. I mean, he said it on there. Like that one hit me really hard on Monday. Like I was very sad. I mean, just not knowing that he was sick, I think made it harder.
It just came out of nowhere.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You had no sense that suddenly Bill Walton wouldn't be a part of my life, and just kind of like I had a couple interactions with him too. Got to take a picture with him out in Maui and talk to him very briefly. Sat next to him during a game when he was eating like island fruit, and he tossed some my way like during the game. Like, I mean, the guy just was a riot, always positive, always happy, and yeah, he will be missed for sure.
I'm rewatching his 4-part documentary on ESPN.
Oh, good, hell yeah!
Luckiest guy in the world. Great, just an awesome series. So yeah, luckiest guy in the world. That's what it's called. I mean, just good.
Yes.
Really good.
Yes, I feel like we should acknowledge that, of course.
Thank you, Kai. That should have been in the roundup.
It should have. I thought about it during the show. I was like, oh shoot. Okay, Bill Walton. We just have one review. It's quick from Cabo Rave. The title is it's a thumbs up emoji. It's just an emoji. He said, "Class act, boys. Thanks again. Good, appreciate it. Please
Nice.
do
Right,
keep
Kai.
leaving reviews."
Which fan base did we piss off enough to get a 1-star review next time?
In the Big 12.
Yeah.
Who are we not kind to? Kansas State for calling Pang a
worried about their NIL. I don't know.
We'll see. K-State. We could be on the K-State hot seat. I mean, Kansas, we're so far, we've just completely alienated that. But K-State could be next.
All we did was gush about Kansas.
Yeah.
That's like all I did
good.
was gush about Kansas.
All right. That does it. Hey, next week is the Pac-12. We're gonna hit the Pac-12. That's right. It's debunked. It's gone. But we got to talk about the teams.
It feels so wrong.
Yeah. We're gonna put them to bed. We'll say.
Well,
It's like the
we'll do maybe one more Bill Walton tribute with it too.
There you go.
It's like the D3 baseball team that's still playing in the postseason, but the school has been closed down. So like they're still playing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's an insane story. Absolutely insane story.
All right, we'll see you guys then. Probably Thursday as well. Thanks for joining again. Hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and check out the Discord. You will not regret it. Well worth the money. Hopefully, we're going to make it that as such. But until next time, cheers.